Welcome back here to Mountain Connections. One of my favorite things about these Business Wednesdays is interviewing amazing entrepreneurs from all over the country and learning more about their stories and how they got to where they are today. We're learning more about Joshua Evans. He is a business organization expert and a #1 best-selling author in leadership and management training. He's done talks for TEDx, and he's worked with companies like American Express, ExxonMobil, Latham & Watkins, and so much more. We're really excited to have him here with us. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey,
Really
it's a pleasure to
appreciate
be here, Diego. Thank you.
Welcome, and we hear you're excited to go skiing. So that's good.
Don't tell my wife.
Yeah, she's got to keep that on the DL.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited.
That's good. Good to hear. We're excited to have you in the Park City community. Let's talk a little bit about yourself, though. Tell me about you. Where are you from, and how did you get into the entrepreneurial world?
Well, that's a great question. So I'm born and raised in Houston, Texas. Went to school outside of Houston, but then moved back. And for about 10 years, I was in the corporate world for mostly software and technology companies. And I spent 10 years going through different organizations and really learning what makes great organizations and what makes organizations that people don't fit well into. And so of those 10 years, I only hated 2 of the years that I worked there. And most people think it was either the first 2 years or the last 2 years, but no, it was years 3 and 4.
It was in the middle.
It was right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
And what it wasn't that it was a bad company that I was working for, it's that I was a poor fit for the culture that they had.
I see.
And because of that kind of realization, as I moved into other organizations, that was one of the biggest things that I would look for is, am I a good fit for the culture of this company? And so after about 10 years, I had started writing a book about why people should be passionate about the work that they do and how people can really reclaim their enthusiasm for their vocation. And so after those 10 years, I decided I'm going to write a book, and then I want to make it my mission to go help people love the work that they do. Because everybody starts from a place where they like their job.
Yeah,
right?
Everyone's excited when you start your job. You're excited for a new position, new responsibilities, things to do, and things to tackle. But as you said, maybe year 3 or 4, things maybe become a little mundane.
Absolutely. We become complacent, and we get overburdened by all the day-to-day minutia and the small problems, and then on day 500 you want to stab your coworker. Yeah. And so how do we get these employees back to that day 1 when they were excited and when they saw the forest for the trees? And so that's what I work with organizations to do now, and I absolutely love it.
And this has a kind of a twofold effect, right? One for the employee themselves, getting and reclaiming this empowerment feeling, right? Of I love the work that I do and I'm excited to do it. But it also, on the business side of things, creating a culture where this is possible for your employees adds for greater productivity for your business as well.
Absolutely. So I think one of the key things for most organizations to realize is that they have to be intentional about it. You have to want, every organization wants engaged employees, because that means that they're going to be more profitable and they're going to be more productive. That's what you want. And they're going to stay there.
Yeah.
If somebody likes to work there, they're not going to be looking for another job. And so the question becomes, how do we create an environment where people, or an atmosphere where people really want to stay? And so that's what it really comes down to. And so it is twofold, where the people that actually work there now really like to work there, and the companies are reaping the benefits because they're not going to have to worry about replacing employees.
And the constant turnover of having to train new employees. So let's talk about what are some of the big things that you've encountered with businesses when they're trying to mold their business culture. What are some of the hardships that they encounter, and what are some tips that you give them to get to that place that you're talking about?
Well, the biggest thing, and this is across the board for everybody, the biggest thing is doing things the way that they've been doing it. People, we get not just complacent like you said, but we get into these grooves and they become ruts. And so they get stuck doing these modes of operations within their business. This is how we always hire. This is how we always train. This is how we always measure the productivity of our individuals. And so the problem is when we get stuck in these certain places, it's hard for us to step back and think about things more abstractly, which is what's so necessary. And so the analogy I love to use is about a construction foreman walking through a construction yard. And so this construction foreman, he comes across these 3 masons working with bricks and mortar. And he comes to the first one, he goes, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" And that mason goes, "Well, I'm laying bricks." And then he comes to the second mason, he goes, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" And he goes, "Well, I'm building this wall." But then he comes to the third mason, and he goes, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" And that mason, he sets down his trowel, and he looks up at the sky, and he says, "Well, I'm building a cathedral." And therein lies the difference. They're all doing the same job, but one of them is smiling on his way to work on Monday morning. And it's that same individual, that third mason, that is walking away on Fridays with a sense of pride in the work that he's accomplished. So the big key that organizations, this is the real rubber meets the road thing that you need to do if you want to have a phenomenal organization and have loyal employees, is you have to help them make an emotional connection to their contribution. And if they're not emotionally connected to it, then they're just a mercenary.
Absolutely, and if they don't see the big picture and the cause for what they're working for, they're not going to have that motivation. So what about on the individual side of things? As an individual employee, what can I do in my own business culture to ensure that I'm going to remain happy, and maybe things to remind myself about the work that I'm doing, that it is good and that I can continue to do it well?
See, that's a great question. And so one of the things I like to help individuals realize is that too often we're focused on what our role is or what somebody in our role does. And it's easy to do that, right? Because you have a title like I'm, the vice president of blank, 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 blank. Okay, well, what does that mean? What does somebody in that role do? And then they list off all these tasks or functions or responsibilities, right? Their KPIs, these things that they have to do. These are the things that I have to do a good job. And they stop there. Right, because that's on every requisition for a new position, that's what it says. This is the title and these are what your responsibilities are, but neither one of those things is enough to get somebody excited to come to work.
Absolutely.
So I ask people to go a step deeper. Now, what does you doing a good job in your role mean to your fellow employees, to your manager, and to every customer that your organization is serving? If you can help them see that they're part of something bigger, that they are serving other people, then it allows them to actually stay engaged and to actually care about their work, making that emotional connection.
That's fantastic. Some huge tips for us. I wish we could continue this conversation because there's some big things to talk about, but tell me a little bit more about how people can learn more about you and your specific business advice. Where can they go to buy your books and follow along with your journey as well?
So my books are available on Amazon or any of those other book websites that you can buy stuff from. And then also, if they want to find out more about me, they can check out my website, joshuamevans.com. And there's a lot of information there. There's a blog. You can check out my podcast as well.
Awesome. Highly encourage you to do that, Josh. We really appreciate you
so
coming
much,
on
Diego.
and giving these great tips, talking about business organization and how to foster an amazing, productive business culture. As he said, if you want to learn more about him, you can head to his website, joshuamevans.com, or check him out on Amazon or any online book retailer for his great books there. We'll be right back with much more right here on Mountain Connections.